are listening to the Alzheimer's Podcast with Mike Good of Togetherness, your number one resource for practical tips and insights, empowering you and your family to live well with Alzheimer's. Hello and welcome to episode number 2. This is Mike Good of Togetherness. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Alzheimer's Podcast, where my goal is to empower you to maintain a positive experience, reduce and eliminate the need for medications, and make your time together with those you care for the best it can be. Today we're going to talk about the role the outdoors play in accomplishing these goals through its therapeutic and healing properties, and how you can maximize these benefits. In episode 1, I discussed 8 pillars of living well as a family with Alzheimer's or another dementia in your life. And the outdoors can and should play a role in all of these pillars, some more than others, of course. I can't imagine a world where I couldn't enjoy outdoor pleasures whenever I want. Like a caged bird unable to spread its wings and fly, to me that would be hell. The feel of the sunshine on my face, the smell of flowers blooming, and the sounds of kids frolicking in the park. While these pleasures naturally occur for most of us whenever we want, millions of people with Alzheimer's disease or another debilitating disease find themselves unable to enjoy such routine pleasures without assistance. They're confined to the indoors because they've lost either their cognitive ability to choose or their physical ability to move about freely and at will. Many individuals with Alzheimer's are confined for their own safety without much regard for their spirit. I first became motivated to talk about and actively encourage outdoor activity when I wrote an article inspired by the Best Friends Dementia Bill of Rights. In fact, I wrote 10 articles based on these rights. This right, in particular, is the right of people with dementia, and I'll expand upon that to say the right of anybody with special needs and unique challenges to be outdoors on a regular basis. Check out the show notes at togetherness.com/episode 2 for a link to this article and any other resource I may mention during this show. During the time that I was writing about the rights of those with dementia, I was also visiting a lot of assisted living communities, primarily those with memory care. While some had nice outdoor areas for residents to enjoy when they wanted, others definitely need a lot of improvement, at least in my opinion. One place only had an enclosed concrete courtyard with a couple of places to sit. Not very ideal. In fact, it had a very institutional feel that was not comforting to one's spirit. There was nothing to engage the residents' senses or promote activity. Outdoor areas must have points of interest that engage the individual. Another community had a really nice, lush area off to the side of the building, but the residents couldn't get to it unsupervised. It makes for nice marketing to unknowing families, but it really misses out on promoting independence. And unfortunately, the outdoor spaces of most residential homes are not set up to safely support a loved one with Alzheimer's. There are dangers everywhere that prevent the caregivers from allowing their loved ones to enjoy the space. It's these experiences and observations that have led me to advocate for regular access to the outdoors when a person wants, not only when they're allowed. It's unnatural for a person to be restricted to the indoors. This includes not only the person with Alzheimer's, but you, the caregiver, as well. Our own body and mind tells us this when we get cabin fever. Not only do both of you have the right to be outdoors on a regular basis, but it's a God-given freedom. Helping a loved one with unique or special needs such as Alzheimer's go outdoors routinely can be a very overwhelming and stressful situation. But keeping each other cooped up will likely lead to negative behaviors from both of you. It just makes sense, and of course there's scientific evidence, that getting outdoors will improve both physical and mental well-being. And in dementia care, there's usually improved sleep cycles, less agitation and restlessness, improved diet, better mood, and an improved relationship between the care partners. I realize it's not always practical to get outdoors. Maybe there's inclement weather, mobility issues to contend with, or they have health problems that prohibit it. In these cases, you want to bring the outdoors inside. First, and very importantly, open window coverings to let the sun shine in and lighten the room. Better yet, open a window and allow fresh air and the sounds of birds chirping to fill the room. Bring in flowers or herbs to stimulate the senses. The extra stimuli is good for a person's mind, body, and spirit. I had one caregiver share with me that her mom simply can't deal with all the extra stimuli that the outdoors has. So she created an area in their home where her mom can sit and still see out into the backyard. She had bird feeders outside the window, and she has house plants in the room as well. While this isn't ideal, this daughter has adapted to her mom's limitations and made the best of the situation. The great thing about the outdoors is that it does stimulate our senses with a lot of different stimuli. The wind on our face, the smell of a barbecue, the sound of neighbors laughing, the sight of a bird soaring, or the feel of the sun warming our skin. The sun is a natural healer with its supply of vitamin D for healthy skin, bones, and immune system. Just don't forget the sunscreen and the sunglasses. Also, very importantly, sunshine helps maintain our body's natural circadian rhythm, which generally leads to better sleep at night. The social worker at the support group I used to attend would recommend ensuring a loved one received at least an hour of sunshine without sunglasses, if possible, to help reset a person's internal clock. Making the outdoors part of a daily routine will have a positive effect on their mental and physical well-being while also benefiting you as well. You can't become a prisoner in your own home either. Depending on each person's interests and abilities, there are many things you can do together right in your own yard. These include container gardening, picking up leaves, pulling weeds, going for a walk, bird watching, or simply relaxing and enjoying each other's company. Remember, it's about creating moments of joy while spending quality time together. As I alluded to earlier, concern for a loved one's safety is a primary reason they become prisoners in their own home. Another reason is you simply run out of time in your very busy schedule. This is another reason I said in episode 1 that it takes a team to live well with Alzheimer's. In most cases, there's just too much responsibility for one person. It's vital that you create a care plan that includes outdoor time for both you and your loved one. In this episode, I'm not going to go into the details on how to create a care plan, but I will include a link in the show notes that will help guide you through the process. So let's talk about the major obstacle that prevents individuals from going outdoors when they want: safety and security. In my course on adapting your home for dementia, I talk about safety, function, and stimulation, and I go into great detail on each. These 3 elements should all be addressed in your outdoor spaces. Starting with safety. Oftentimes there's tools, chemicals, and other dangerous types of debris or clutter. Plants, animals, and walkways can also pose a danger. And there's also the ability to exit and leave the premises. Much like the indoors, we want to remove clutter and minimize trip hazards. And an individual who is accustomed to maintaining the home will likely be drawn to various things in the yard. So out of sight, out of mind is a good philosophy. Remove these items and store them away if it's an issue. Debris like tree limbs, for instance, can pose an issue for the individual who wants to pull out the chainsaw and take care of things. This may sound extreme, but I often talk about the daughter who had to find a solution when her dad was attempting to use a chainsaw, when just the day before she stopped him from cutting through a live electrical cable. If the tree debris wasn't there, he wouldn't have been encouraged to clean it up. The dangers are real, but you must find a balance so your loved one can go outdoors. And with an active loved one like her dad, you must find a safe activity to occupy them. Trips and falls are a concern, and addressing trip hazards in the yard is much more complicated than indoors, but do your best to minimize these hazards. If your loved one likes to move about the yard, strategically place chairs or benches so they can rest if they become tired. Secure fencing and gates to minimize exiting. I've heard of men climbing fences to escape and go home because they are confused. So you must observe and understand what your loved one is prone to do. If you feel like they may leave the premises, make sure they have an ID bracelet or a tracking device. Also consider the use of outdoor cameras so you can observe from a distance if needed. Much like the indoors, it's about finding a balance of safety and stimulation. Let's talk a little about adding function and stimulation to your outdoor area. Function means the space works for them, meaning it has things that empower them to accomplish tasks and maintain their purpose. For instance, I know a lady whose husband loves to pick up leaves. In this situation, his tools for picking up leaves, maybe it's simply gloves and a bucket, should be readily visible and reachable for him. This will keep him from having to search for them, which could result in frustration and him becoming lost. If mom enjoys playing with herbs, she should have access to her herbs. If you have a woodworker, how about having some wood and sandpaper available? This added function fosters stimulation, and there are other ways to add stimulation. For instance, bird feeders are a nice addition because a lot of people enjoy simply watching and listening to the birds. There are also some simple backyard games that can be introduced, such as a beanbag toss. And now we've introduced some exercise, movement, and socialization. Being outdoors can and should involve getting out and away from home when possible. These trips help to keep the mind and the body sharper because we have to process and handle extra stimuli. We need these extra challenges, otherwise the body and mind become more stagnant. Also, getting out and about typically involves more socialization, which is good for the soul. Of course, everything depends on your loved one's ability to handle the extra stimuli. But some examples may include, for the woodworker, walking around a lumber yard or a hardware store. For the knitter, visiting a fabric store or seeing the knitters at the local coffee shop. Maybe, if your loved one grew up in a rural setting, they will get joy from visiting a ranch or a petting zoo. Sometimes a road trip can be fulfilling, simply driving around your neighborhood. Try new things and never force it if they seem to become agitated. Stay creative, flexible, and adapt. My friend Heather of Creative Carer takes her mom on walks to feed the ducks and to petting zoos with great results. Make sure you check out the link on the show notes because Heather and her mom have some really good examples. There's no doubt Mother Nature is very healing to our minds, body, and spirit. But because of the additional challenges of getting outdoors with a loved one with dementia, caregivers often choose to avoid it. However, with preparation and planning, you will find these outdoor activities to be very beneficial to you and your loved one. Being outdoors and enjoying nature is in our DNA, and nature has a way of soothing our soul. Whether it's the fresh air on our face, the sound of birds chirping, or the smell of a flower field, there is a healing effect from spending time outdoors. So we must help everyone get outside and visit with Mother Nature because she cares for us and helps us heal in ways I just can't explain. I could talk all day on this topic, but that concludes today's episode where I discuss the therapeutic and healing benefits of being outdoors. Be sure to head over to the show notes and get all the referenced resources at togetherinthis.com/episode 2. And I want to ask you for a special favor today. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider rating and leaving a review. It will mean the world to me, and it will help me keep this podcast active. I can't wait to talk with you in the next episode when I'll discuss the medications used in Alzheimer's care and how you can better understand, manage, and minimize these medications to improve the care you provide. Bye-bye, and be sure to get outside. You've been listening to the Alzheimer's Podcast with Mike Good of Togetherness. For more information and to get the resources mentioned in this episode, visit togetherness.com/podcast.